throughout the workday, she promised herself she would not click the saved link to Holt's Garden Center. But when everyone left, her fingers betrayed her, and she watched videos about aphids, fertilizer, and how to plan and plant a flower bed. Stacy didn't possess a green thumb, and what little she knew about gardening, she'd learned from watching Alexis. Stacy began to dissect her fascination with Alexis, and had decided though she found Alexis incredibly attractive, she was a distraction from a very unhappy existence with Janie. Everything Stacy wanted Janie to be, she poured into an imaginary version of Alexis that lived only in her head. At times, the fantasies she had about Alexis were so vivid and sexually charged. She felt as though she'd been unfaithful to Janie. She glanced at her watch and released a heavy breath. She was about to face her fantasy in the flesh again that evening, and she wasn't exactly thrilled. She was embarrassed by what Janie had said to Alexis, and that she failed to apologize to Alexis that day. Stacy had been so stunned by Janie's remarks and Alexis's presence that her brain seemed to stall out on her. By the time she was thinking clearly, she had asked Jason to introduce her to Alana's mother and grandmother in hopes of having a moment to speak to Alexis again. Alexis walked away before she had a chance. On Wednesday night, Alexis stood at Alana and Jason's door with a Boston fern tucked in the crook of her arm. She raised her hand to knock, but couldn't bring herself to actually do it. She thought for a moment about leaving the plant on the doorstep with a note attached saying she'd been abducted by aliens, but they promised to have her back the next morning before the nursery opened. Alexis was grinning at the absurd notion when the door opened, and she came face to face with Stacy. Stacy gazed at Alexis standing there with her fist in the air, sporting a maniacal smile. Hi. Hello, Alexis said coolly and slowly lowered her hand. Stacy stood there gazing at her with those light green eyes, her hair down and hanging partially over one of them, lips slightly parted as though she wanted to say something. Alexis noticed the tiny cleft in Stacy's chin and the light freckles on her cheeks. Am I allowed in the house? Oh, I was just going to get something from my car. You surprised me. Stacy opened the door wider and allowed Alexis in. They're in the kitchen. Thanks, Alexis replied dully and walked past Stacy, who still stood there staring at her. Alana met Alexis in the living room and threw her arms around her as though she hadn't seen her in years. Oh, I'm so glad you came, Alana said and kissed her cheek twice. You didn't have to bring a plant. I left work too late to pick up a bottle of wine, and plants last longer. Well, it might if you actually water it, Alexis said with a smile, when Jason joined them and gave her a hug too. Dinner smells... Is it burning? Oh! Alana whirled around and ran into the kitchen.